Morning, all, and welcome to the preview for tomorrow. I can't stress enough this is for tomorrow. Every time I post these, I say at the start they're for tomorrow. People still comment underneath, no, that's not the right time. That's not when they play today. It's for tomorrow. It's for tomorrow. So, um, yeah, it's for tomorrow. I also want to wish Clayton a happy birthday. I also want to thank on Patreon Lewis Cho for continued support of the channel. Stephen P.O.R. I apologize if I am butchering that. William Dadley, Brian and Sandy Bellick, Dalton Williams, Matt Dariano, Casey McIntyre, Philippe Martin, Eric Nordquist, Forrest Dagg, Jet Reeser, Fabio Tintinaglia, Chrono Journer, Ola Albertson, Evan Herbert, William I. Wells, Joseph Wunderlich, Kevin Kearney, Corey, too cool for a last name, Vivian Harmat, Zemerid, Kirkland Zelinsky, Venom 129, 2 Cents Rugby, Heath Dewson, and Seth Douglas for their continued support on Patreon. All right. So how you feeling this morning? Exhausted, tired, writing your own rap songs? Me too. Uh, it's just, I don't really leave the room, so you start making up songs. And they're not going on the entertainment guy. Just throwing it there now. There's just not yet. It's a work in progress. I sang a bit to my wife last night, and she just sort of rolled her eyes and called me a dork. So, I'm working on it. All right, first game tomorrow. Tomorrow, the New York Islanders in Florida will have the second of a back-to-back. This will be game 3. So again, if you want to hold off on your predictions until after these games are done today, that's fine. It's just for me to get a preview done after that is just, good luck. Not unless I want to do it at 11 o'clock at night. Now, for Florida, today's game is key. If they don't win today, they probably don't win tomorrow. Being down 2-0 is basically the kiss of death in a best-of-5 series. So Florida has to win today, and then maybe if they win today, they get that momentum into tomorrow. Florida hasn't had a playoff history of note since 1996. If they don't win today, that probably continues. And then we have the question that'll be asked if they win the draft lottery, will people feel okay with that, with him being added to Barkov and Huberdeau and that roster that's pretty darn solid, or will people complain that that's not fair? So again, we'll get into that conversation at a later time, but tomorrow could be a key game for them. And of course for the New York Islanders as well. The New York Islanders haven't had a long run in the playoffs in a long time either. So even though they've won a round more recently than Florida, those long playoff runs, the Islanders really haven't had those, and so they're looking for one of those as well. And with Barry Trotz behind the bench, it's possible, though I can't really say that without mentioning Joel Quenneville behind the bench for Florida. It's part of the reason Joel Quenneville was brought in. All right, next up, Nashville and Arizona. So the interesting thing is this morning we have Florida and the Islanders, and then we have Arizona and Nashville, and tomorrow it's the same, and they're at the same time. So noon Eastern for this one tomorrow, same as today. 11:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So 11:30 a.m. my time. And again, this is a back-to-back. So for Arizona, you have to win today, or you're probably done tomorrow. And I'm interested to see how many of these series are going to end up going 5, and how many of them could be over quickly. And these are two here that today will decide whether or not tomorrow is the end of it. So Arizona and Florida in those cases will both have home ice advantage, which nobody has home ice advantage in this, not really. And I think it's going to be quite the interesting day because, again, we may see 2 series that are finished here. It's possible, and then we'll find out how the scheduling is going to work after that. One of the reasons we don't have a schedule yet for the games after all the game 3s are done is because we don't know which series are still going to be going. So Arizona wants to make sure this series goes at least 4. They'd like to win it in 4, but in order to have a chance to do that, they have to win today. And then, of course, they'd have to win tomorrow as well. For Nashville, back-to-back situation. You win 1 out of 2 of those. You're up 2-1. You're in pretty good shape to win the series. It is a completely different complexion with the best of 5 than it is with the best of 7. So, moving on. Now we're into the round-robin portion of the day. And at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific, the 1-0-0 Tampa Bay Lightning against the 0-1-0 Boston Bruins. And I think Boston was serious. I think Bruce Cassidy was serious when he said he didn't really have any preference for where they'd finish with the seeding. He was more concerned with the health of the players and all that. And while I can respect that, I think if the Bruins take kind of a, well, we're going to wait and turn it on later kind of approach, they could be out in round 1. This is absolutely a look that I don't want to see a team have. Yesterday we saw Tampa have this game against Washington where there were fights involved and there was a lot of physical play. And we saw Vegas and Dallas have a really good back and forth game where the effort was there. If Boston doesn't crank up that effort tomorrow against Tampa, not only are they going to lose number 1 seed, they end up then facing a tougher opponent in round 1 than they're going to have if they are the number 1 seed. And the odds of me picking them to win round 1 really drop dramatically. Which teams can ramp up the fastest? That's really what's going to tell how far these teams can go. And I liked Tampa's game yesterday. I thought Tampa played a pretty good game. Washington did handle things, and it was a shootout win for Tampa. But I thought Tampa played pretty well, and I was most impressed to see how well Victor Hedman played after the long layoff. And considering he didn't get as much action as other players did with the run-up to these games. So we'll see how things go for Tampa Bay tomorrow. So, yeah, and of course, conversely for Boston as well. Colorado, 1-0-0, and there's Dallas, 0-1-0. And with, I will say this, contrasting the two teams, I don't think Dallas is taking it as lightly as Boston, but Dallas does have their moments. And I said in yesterday's game against Vegas, it felt like that was a microcosm of their season. They look like they can't score, then they get some goals, it makes you think, hey, these guys can score a bunch, and then it dries up again. Tomorrow against Colorado, this is a really, really good test for both teams. For Colorado, they can't look past Dallas either, because Dallas is capable of having those really good games. So, this one starts at 6:30 Eastern, which is 3:30 Pacific, and we're going to have, bleed over between some of these games. We're going to have more than one game on at a time. This is how they have it structured, and you kind of have to, because otherwise you'd be running from about 8 in the morning my time until about 11:30 at night my time. So yeah, it just doesn't work. But I expect a pretty good game here. Colorado and Dallas, anytime they play each other, it's usually a pretty entertaining game. And for Dallas, I want to see more from Ben. I want to see more from Sagan. I want to see more from Gurianov. I don't like the idea that it's going to be the support guys. I don't like the fact that the best shots seem to come from Janmark over both the exhibition game and then during yesterday's game as well. I want to see the top guys come out and play a little better. And this is a storyline I've had with Dallas all year. And for Colorado, we already know that the best guys are going to come out and play. And we'll see if Kadri has more heroics in him for tomorrow, because that was a pretty fantastic finish for Colorado. Next up, Pittsburgh. So at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific, the Pittsburgh Penguins and Montreal Canadiens get to it with Game 3. This series is tied at 1. And for Pittsburgh, the momentum's on their side. Montreal will be wearing their home jerseys, and they will have last change. We'll see if Montreal can steal another one. And we've learned over the first couple of games, as long as Carey Price is playing like Carey Price, Montreal's got a chance. And this is proof that teams don't tank. These two series down here, to me, prove that there is no tank for a number 1 draft pick. That doesn't exist. And Montreal has every intention of continuing on and trying to knock off Pittsburgh. The biggest question mark I still have with Montreal is something simple. Do they have the top end talent to do it? And I don't think they do. As much as I know that Gallagher can score goals, I know what Tatar can do, I know what Suzuki's going to be. I know Kotkaniemi's better than his regular season stats showed. I don't know that they have that premier forward that can challenge a Crosby or a Malkin. And if they fall out of this round and they get Lafreniere, I think that's the best spot for him. And I say that as a Bruins fan. I think the best spot for Lafreniere is Montreal. I think it would be perfect. So, put up a good fight, go down in 4 or 5 against Pittsburgh, every game be close, and then win the draft lottery, and you're in pretty good shape for next year, where fans will likely say, you know what, Montreal's probably going to be in the running a little bit more than this year, and could very well be in the playoffs if they can find the right combination of scoring and defense. The defense you could point to and say that could be a question mark, but Romanov's joining them next year. They could be a very strong team. So we'll see if Montreal can score themselves an upset here and take themselves out of the Lafreniere discussion or not. And last but not least, the series with all the goals in it. Right, so Montreal and Pittsburgh have their low-scoring tight game last night, and then the Oilers and Chicago had the crazy game where all the goals are scored, and it's the second game in a row where that's happened. 10 goals in one, 9 goals in the next. I don't expect anything less than about 9 goals in this. And it's interesting to me how quickly people will pile on Corey Crawford. I didn't think more. There was one goal where I will say, yeah, Crawford shouldn't have come out of the net and played that as he did, and then Neal gets the easy goal. Other than that, but he's screened. There's a deflection. There's Connor McDavid's ridiculous first and second goals that nobody could have stopped. And then, like I said, the hat-trick goal, that's a deflection. So I'm not sure how Corey Crawford could have done it better. I can tell you that Subban's not going to do it better. Delia's not going to do it better. And I think, this just basically exposes that, yeah, Chicago, a team that didn't have a great record this year, probably has some issues. And if they fall out and they end up getting that number 1 draft pick and drafting to Lafreniere, as much as there will be those who complain about it, this is a team that they haven't been good for a few years now. They've been mediocre. They could absolutely use the injection Lafreniere would give them. Does it make them a heck of a lot better quickly? Yes. It really does, but again, we're where we are, and we're 6 days away from finding out exactly where Lafreniere is going to end up. So there you go. You guys are all set for tomorrow's games. August 5th, today's the 4th. This is the preview for tomorrow. Now, the best part is that these games are at the same time, so nobody needs to correct me on the time. But yes, it does say Game 3, and today we're in Game 2, because that's today. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Do hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.